Good Friday afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back. Kyle Fisher, Director of Marketing.
Kevin Adams, VP R&D.
Yep. So we're back again for a second week, so we didn't get kicked out.
No.
Chris was in Vegas last week.
Yep.
And this week he was heading up to Cleveland, so we just missed him. So you get to get us again. So like every week, we're trying to reach out, educate on some of our products, answer questions. So as always, we encourage you to post your questions below. We're going to keep an eye on it. We'll try to answer questions as we go. We'll cover some of the things we got coming up here, some of our specials that we got going on, and hopefully educate you on some questions you might have. I'm sure people are probably wondering why we have some toilet paper on the table.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So I first want to say it's National Truck Drivers Appreciation Week. So truck drivers are really our bread and butter, and what has really helped this company grow throughout the decades now. So we appreciate all the truck drivers out there. I think we're having a web special we've been running all week for the appreciation. It's the Big Rig Duo, which is two quarts of Stiction Eliminator and two quarts of Diesel Extreme. They got it marked down all the way to $140 right now, free shipping, and you're getting an extra quart of FR3. So it's about $200 value with the FR3 in there for $140. A great deal. So thanks to all the truck drivers out there. We appreciate it. Hope some are tuned in today and can ask some questions. Some of the truck drivers use some of the technology we're going to talk about today.
Yep, sure do.
What we're going to talk about today is our Frantz filter line. And we get a lot of questions about this. Every time I talk to somebody about a Frantz filter or just a bypass filter in general, most people don't know what they are, what they do. Once they find out what they do, it's kind of like, well, why isn't that on every single vehicle on Earth?
Yeah, diesel is so expensive. It has a huge payback as far as protecting your investment.
So, well, let's jump into it. So, off the top, let's start easy and oil filtration in general. Every vehicle has an oil filter on it, and that's designed to keep your oil clean. And over time, you're going to start to get dirty oil particles in the oil. And one of the main things is with your standard oil filter on your vehicle, it has to keep the flow rate up. Mm-hmm. So your motor keeps running. So you got to keep oil running to the motor. So there's limitations on how much a standard oil filter can actually filter out oil. And that's where a secondary filter, a bypass filter, comes in.
Yeah, and also where it's not practical on a truck installation, because you can't affect the flow, you would have to make the filter really big to have a lot of surface area, so the flow could be, give the engine what it needs for flow. So, like Kyle said, the answer to keeping your oil really clean is bypass filtration. It's kind of the best of both worlds. You can use your standard spin-on filter, but yet you're keeping your oil always at a clean condition. So you may go through the demo kits.
Yeah, we have quite a setup today. A little different from normal. Kevin will walk you through this here. You just want to go through the pieces first and actually what's in a Frantz filter kit?
Yeah, sure thing. So these two kits that we have up here, this one is for a 6-liter, and this is for Duramax. And basically what we're doing is just taking a slipstream of oil and finally filtering it. So the way that we do that, we find a place after the fuel pump or after the oil pump that we can take oil. So on the Duramax, what that looks like is a sandwich adapter. So when you're installing that on the truck, this would be your standard spin-on filter. Then the sandwich adapter would go in between, and that gives us a place to take the slipstream of oil from. And it will go through the Frantz filter, and then in this application, it would be returned to the oil fill cap. On the Ford 6-liter, their caps are their oil filters are a little different style. So we have a special cap that we take the pressure from that and then also return it to the oil cap. We have a number of different kits that we already have prepared. We also have universal kits. Besides the most common applications, these sandwich adapters make it pretty pretty much possible to put a bypass filter on most applications. There's a few exceptions where there's maybe a cartridge filter that we can't get a spot of pressure from. But even those cases, sometimes there's fittings in the engine or the block that we can get a pressurized oil stream from and take a stream through the filter. So just call our application engineers, and they'll walk you through that, see if we have a solution for you.
So, and these are some extra sandwich filters here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sandwich
So
filters.
So what we found is these three different styles of sandwich adapters pretty much meet almost every application as far as giving us a place to take the oil from. These are available as an option. We have a universal kit that's basically the Frantz filter and hose and some of the basic fittings, and then you can add the sandwich adapters on depending on the application.
And so just to be clear, what we're doing with that is we're getting the output of the oil flow. So
exactly.
Just simply a way that we can tap into the oil system to bleed some of that oil out so we can get it into our secondary filter.
Yeah, and again, it only takes about 1/10 of the flow, flow-wise away from your the main flow. Key point is it doesn't affect your oil pressure though. The Frantz filter has an 1/8" orifice to restrict the flow through the filter, and that keeps the whole system pressurized and keeps the appropriate amount of pressure going to the critical areas of your engine, main bearings, rod bearings, things like that. So hardware-wise, this is what comes in a Frantz filter. As far as filtering media, we have two different styles of media. We have a cellulose media and a synthetic media. A question we get a lot is your cellulose media looks like a roll of toilet paper, and it does. And that's why we brought this toilet paper here to show you what the difference is. Basically, in filtering, what you want to have is a filter element that catches particles. It's kind of like rocks in a stream. You need some sticks and interference to keep the rocks from washing down the stream. Well, the tighter a filter is made, the more particles it's going to catch and keep them from passing through the filter and through the engine. So in the old days of Frantz filter, it was said that you could use a Scott 1000 tissue as your filter element. And Scott 1000, the 1000 means that there's 1,000 sheets in a roll. And I just wanted to show you the difference between the two. Toilet paper nowadays is actually kind of made for comfort. It's quilted and it's really fluffy. You can see from the roll how it's not really very, very tight. And there's 1,000 sheets in that roll. This element has 1,400, the equivalent of 1,400 in this small area, and it's really hard. And that's what gives the filter its efficiency. We haven't found any toilet paper that's a satisfactory filter nowadays. So we actually have these made from a filter company, and they wind them to our specifications. So that's a cellulose filter. Applications you would want to use, the one advantage of a cellulose filter is that it does have some moisture absorbing capabilities. So if you have a head gasket leak, or you have an intermittent leak that's showing up on an oil analysis, definitely the cellulose would get you by until you can get your truck in and get it repaired. This other media is a synthetic polypropylene media, and it is really tight and very efficient. This is something that we had developed once we had purchased the Frantz filter line. So we offer both of these options to the customers depending on your application. So
length of time on one of these filters, how long can they go for?
Yeah, it varies by application. Some trucks are really sooty. You can change your oil and it's black within 50 miles. So as a general rule of thumb, we would say 10,000 miles. But one kind of seat of the pants method you can use is once you have the Frantz filter installed, just fill the housing occasionally. If it's warm or hot, you know that oil's going through it and it's being filtered. You know, when the filter is plugged up, you know, it'll stop flowing through there. But 10,000 miles is about usually what we tell people.
And once it plugs up, oil stops flowing through, it cools down.
Yeah.
You're not hurting anything at that point. You still get your oil flow going through your standard filter.
Exactly.
You just lose the benefit of the secondary filter.
Yep.
So it's time to change your media at that point.
Yep. Yep, sure is.
Great. You want to maybe explain, I remember when I first was reviewing this product, how the actual flow of oil through this media, how it comes through the middle, right, and cascades down through.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll show you with this filter here. So, of course, the filter goes in the housing this way. There's two ports on the filter base, and basically the oil will flow down through the center of the base, and then unlike a regular spin-on filter, it's what you would call depth filtration. So the oil is evenly loaded on the end of the filter element, and it travels the whole way through the element, and then comes out the top, and then gets returned to your oil fill cap. So that's how we get really efficient filtration. You know, if you would ever cut apart a spin-on oil filter, it looks like a thin piece of paper that is kind of shaped like an accordion, and it's filtering from the outside to the inside. So it's got about that much filter element that it goes through versus this filter where it's going through the whole length of the filter.
Almost like you see an air filter media, the accordion style.
Yeah.
So it's just going to pass through the width of that filter, whereas this travels all the way down through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you can turn up the Frantz display there. You can see the bottom of the can. No, you display right in the middle here.
Oh,
you can see your plumbing on the bottom. If you can tip that back.
This one?
Yeah. No, tip it backwards. Let them see the plumbing on the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. What Kyle's talking about is where the hoses actually go into the element. This bracket really can be installed. The filter can be installed in any orientation. These are standard national pipe thread fittings. And when we ship these filters, we ship a long amount of hose, so you guys have flexibility on where to mount it in your vehicle. We have done most applications, so like I mentioned before, if you just talk to one of our application engineers, he can give you some guidance on where other people have mounted on the especially Duramax, Cummins, Ford.
And we've seen them mounted about everywhere.
Yeah, even on the front of the bumper.
Yeah, on our company truck, we've got one mounted inside the bumper.
Yeah. Yep. Inside bumper, outside the bumper, frame rails. The nice thing is it's pretty small, really, as far as installation goes. So there's a lot of flexibility on where you can put it.
Right.
So
why don't you talk a little bit about what this contraption is here?
Yeah, when we first purchased the Frantz filter business, we did a lot of research and development here to find out what the capabilities of the existing product was, and then set our sights on what we can do to improve the filter elements and advance the line a little bit farther. And basically from our testing, what we had found out is through oil analysis that if we take a truck, and one example that comes to mind, we had a 6-liter, one of our employees here had a 6-liter, was ready for an oil change. We did an oil analysis, and at the 3-micron level, he had like 40,000 particles in his oil analysis. We installed the Frantz filter with the cellulose filter, cellulose media, and after 200 miles, the oil had returned back to new condition. So it's really interesting as far as, if you think about when you change your oil, it turns black right away. You run it for 5,000 miles. If you're a semi guy, you run it for 15,000 miles. As soon as you put it in, the oil's getting dirty, and then you clean it out. Well, with the Frantz filter, it actually, from our testing, will return the oil back to clean condition. And so the purpose of this display is to show you visually what our oil analysis showed us when we were doing our R&D testing of the elements. And what this is is we have 3 different valves here and some engine oil. And what we've done with the oil is we've taken carbon black and dissolved it into the oil to simulate soot. And the particle size of the soot is like 85 nanometers up to 1 to 5 microns. Okay, so the point of this is to illustrate how your oil can look as black as coal, but yet still the oil doesn't get cleared up when it passes through a very good spin-off filter. This is Napa Platinum. And then what we do is we leave the spin-on filter on and then open this valve to put a slipstream through the Frantz filter and show what a big difference is visually. What we'll show is that through this filter the oil is black as coal, and just through one pass it looks like new oil again.
Okay, so from understanding you, that's your engine oil reservoir there, with some sooty oil in it.
Yep.
That thing's got a pump in it to replicate, your oil pump in the truck.
Yeah.
So we have the ability with this display device to shut off the valve on both of them. So we can run it through the standard filter like everybody's car or truck out there, running through an oil filter, and show that the standard filter isn't going to be able to clean it down to that low of a micron. But with the flip of the switch, we'll turn on the Frantz filter and allow the oil to flow through that and see the different result.
Yep, exactly. So we'll do this demonstration here. Let me turn the unit on. And so this back fitting is come from the spin-on filter. This middle hose is when we bypass both filters here, and this front hose is going through the Frantz filter. So what you see right now is we have the spin-on filter, the oil is going through the spin-on filter, and then a bypass stream is going through the Frantz. So just at a glance, you can see a difference in how much of the particles that are getting filtered out. What I'll do is I'll just put this in here and try to catch some of the filtered oil so I can do this without making a mess. And then catch some of this oil. I just let that sit in there and fill up.
You missing? There you go. Okay. So what you did was you took one test tube, filled it with oil coming out of the standard filter, and now we have another line coming out of the Frantz filter, both feeding off the same reservoir of dirty oil.
Yeah.
So this is really just comparing the difference in how well these filters can strain the oil down.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be full there.
Just work it off here. Yeah, you can see through one pass. Probably easier to see with the napkin behind it. What a big difference just through one pass through the Frantz filter.
So what that's showing is that although the oil flow is slower through the Frantz because obviously it's screening it down to a lower micron.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't have just a Frantz filter on your vehicle because you can't return the oil to the engine quick enough.
Yeah.
But as we bleed off about 10% of the oil flow
Yeah,
line?
that's about what it ends up being.
And if you had this system on your truck, it's going to be constantly returning it to the same reservoir. And I don't know how many miles it would take to filter out a.
Yeah, we're doing our testing. It actually brought it back to new condition within 200 miles.
200
That's one of the
miles.
analysis we put on our website. But
Right, so
it's probably a lot sooner than that.
That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. And so I think one of the great advantages of it also is, as you can see, that I don't know how well those test tubes are showing up on camera. It's kind of hard to see, but one of the advantages is not only you have the ability to clean your oil, but that's the oil that's running through your motor the entire interval of your oil change.
Yeah, and the key thing to keep in mind too is the tolerances in the different components in your engine. You know, if your fuel injectors are hydraulically operated, you know, you just have a few microns of tolerance in there. You know, so a spin-on filter generally only filters down to 15 to 25 microns. And they say wear particles are normally within the 2 to 10 micron range. So what you're doing is you're actually filtering out the particles that wear out your engine, you know, the fastest, where, you know, your spin-on filter doesn't catch those particles.
Remember, if you have any questions out there, we get a lot of questions about these Frantz filters, and it's a very simple technology, but it's sometimes a little difficult to understand. So feel free to ask questions. Like I said, we always do product giveaways, so get your questions posted. We might give you send out some products to you as well. You want to maybe talk about? Maybe we can bring those over here and put them in front of a white background. Get your. That helps. So if we have, so say we're now somebody who's got a Frantz filter on the vehicle, we can see the difference it makes, and that's just one pass through the filter.
Yeah.
So as it slowly cleans out all that soot, you're going to be operating with even cleaner oil than that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe oil out of the bottle on the shelf, what's that usually filtered to?
It has some particles in it. I don't
Right.
remember off the top of my head. I was actually surprised. You know, when we got our oil analysis back, it looked clean, but when we used new oil as the comparative baseline to see how we indexed, I was surprised how many particles, you know, in the 5 micron, 10 micron, 15 micron range that actually was in new oil.
It was still in a brand new bottle of oil off the shelf that you're buying at the store.
Yeah,
You can find particles that big. Whereas
you can't usually see those particles.
Right. And then that's also when we can strain down to, where are we at, 1 to 2 microns?
Yeah, that's what we claim. The powder that we're using to demonstrate it, it's actually
Less than
86 nanometers,
Right.
which is quite a bit smaller than even a micron. So
yeah.
even though there's just a touch of darkness, what you're seeing is actually nanoparticles floating in there instead of micron particles.
Sure.
So
Sure. So it's pretty cool that you have a device that can be on the car, filter your oil down, theoretically to a cleaner oil than when you buy it out of the bottle on the shelf, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And again, the important part of that is your motor's constantly seeing that oil, so it's not throughout the interval slowly. You get great oil at the beginning. At the end of your oil interval, it's really bad. Your truck saw some really rough oil at the very end of that before you made the change. Running a bypass filter from the beginning or to the end of your interval, you're running clean oil the whole time.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you couldn't ask for a better thing for your motor. Maybe now let's talk a little bit about the benefits. Obviously, you know, the obvious benefit behind it, but also, you know, what kind of oil benefits most from this versus and the uptake on it. Because my understanding is if you're running, say, last week we talked about oil, so hopefully if you were watching last week, we talked about Group 2, Group 3, Group 4 oils and the differences in them. If you're running a Group 2 conventional oil, it's going to shear and fall out of grade and get dirty pretty soon. So a system like this isn't really all that beneficial because the oil is going to go bad before you, no matter how clean you keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
You step up to Group 3 synthetic oil, they last longer. You know, we could see people running 10, 15,000 miles even sometimes on these. But the real benefit of a system like this is, as we talked about last week, running a Group 4 PAO oil, because as we discussed, a PAO is not going to shear. It's not going to fall out of grade. It's pretty much got just a limitless life to it, as long as you keep it clean.
Exactly.
So a PAO combined with a bypass filter nets incredibly long intervals.
Yes. Yeah, and we're probably one of the few companies that offers a full PAO engine oil. Even some of the top names in engine oils, what they'll do is they'll take a Group 3 and add a Group 4 to extend the performance, but for economy's sake, it won't be 100% PAO. So we take the position that, you know, PAOs aren't for everybody, but if you use it in combination with oil analysis and a bypass system, you really can do the best thing for your engine and actually save money in the process.
Absolutely.
So,
you want to talk a little bit about, let's say we're somebody who's investing in some great Group 4 PAO oil, invested in a bypass filter system. What's the game plan then on intervals? How far can we go? How do we know when it's time to change? How do we evaluate that?
Here's what we tell people. Here's kind of like the recommended recipe for doing all this. So you use a PAO, and what you'll do is oil analysis is a lot like going to the doctor and seeing your trend in cholesterol and blood pressure. So what's important is to do extra oil analysis at the beginning of starting this. So, the first couple times that you're extending your oil drain interval, you may want to check your oil, have it analyzed like at 5,000 miles, 10,000 miles. If it's a pickup truck, 10 or 15 if it's a semi. And
what get a baseline of how your truck consumes the oil and treats the oil.
Exactly, and also get trends on wear metals. So we'll talk about oil analysis in depth in future talks, but basically oil analysis gives you a couple critical things. One, you look at the viscosity, make sure that the oil hasn't sheared out of grade, or with a PAO, it's more likely you could get fuel dilution to affect the viscosity, and that would thin out the oil layer and hamper the protection of the oil. You could have particles in there. We have two different versions of oil analysis. One has metals and the typical oil analysis, and one has the addition of a particle count. So you can check that out.
This is actually one of the kits here.
Yeah.
And I will say one unique thing about pulling in an oil sample, come with a nice outside kit. You want to fill your little bottle here, fill out your info, and seal it back in and drop it in the mail. We get all the data. We've got a nice new system coming here very soon.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be able to go to our website and actually see all your analysis of your oil right there. One thing I want to say is people sometimes say, well, how do I get a sample of my oil? Do I get down there and pull the drain plug and stick it in there and try to plug it back up before too much oil comes out? One of the fun things about the Frantz filters, you just saw how Kevin executed the experiment there, especially if you've got like a return on your oil cap. Well, after it's coming out of that Frantz filter, it's just going right back to your oil cap into your oil capacity there. So it's very simple. Crank your truck on, undo your oil cap, lift it up, and you get a nice full stream of oil. You just dip it in, send it off, and put your oil cap back on. It's very clean and easy to do, and that's the way you get your sample.
Just the only suggestion is when you're doing an oil analysis, your truck ought to be up to temperature, or when you're taking your sample, just that way everything is mixed up. If you're doing a particle count, it'll really take the average of
and be very clean.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't have just touch the inside of the cap or anything. I mean, you get these contaminated very easy. Yep. The analysis we do on this oil is so fine that it'll pick up anything. So it's very important to be very clean when you're taking your sample.
Just an overview of an oil analysis. What you're looking for is wear metals to be trending up. We check viscosity, flash point. What normally gets flagged on an oil analysis is either a TBN or fuel dilution or antifreeze, from a cooler leaking or a head gasket leaking. So
if you have a coolant leak, it could get into that system, and it's going to show up on the report here.
Exactly. So
and then a fuel dilution, that can often happen through DPF or
Yeah, and nowadays the way DPFs work, the engine actually runs rich to help the DPF burn itself out. Also, injector problems can put too much fuel basically in the combustion chamber, and you get some fuel bleeding past the rings.
Gotcha.
So we really suggest to everybody, even if you're not using our PAO, we offer these test kits basically at cost as a service for you guys, so you can keep tabs on your trucks and see how they're performing for you. A lot of times you can hedge off a problem with your truck that you won't even see. An antifreeze leak will show up here a lot sooner than
you'll ever see it.
Yeah, before your oil will ever get milky.
And I think we had one of the kits that we had just come back had a very high fuel dilution to it.
Yeah.
That of course the owner had no idea about, and it allows us to look deeper into that problem. And I think the third thing you said that's most common that we'll see is a drop in TBN, which is total base number. We talked about this a little bit last week. That you can't avoid. Your TBN in your oil is going to fall. Yeah. So if we're talking about somebody who's running a system with, again, a PAO, oil, a bypass filter, taking regular oil analysis kits, one thing it might say is, hey, you need to bump the TBN up a few points. And that's why we have a product called our Tbn Booster. You want to talk a little bit about the Tbn Booster?
Yeah, Tbn Booster is for people that are running extended drain intervals, or if you're a truck driver that wants to really stabilize your fuel until the next oil change. Maybe you're out on the road and like, hey, I'm past my oil change interval, but I want to juice up my oil and make sure it's protecting my engine until the oil change. This would be the product for you. We do have a treatment chart on the back. So the way this works, the lab will give you a TBN number back. Say, for example, it's a 5. You will take the amount of gallons or quarts that's in your system and look at our treatment chart and use that as a guide to get you back up to a 6 or a 7. And
which is a good, strong place to be in.
Yeah, you want to have some reserve alkalinity, so as you go through the oil change interval, you won't get too acidic before your next oil change.
Sure.
So yeah, we say about 6 or 7 is a good target.
And we really just reinvented this product. We've had the product for quite a long time, specifically for this use. But I think Tractor Supply just picked this product up nationally, so you can find Tbn Booster in any Tractor Supply nationwide, and of course you can always find all our products online at www.hotshotsecret.com. One of the cool things about the reformulation, because we're always looking to better our products and finding new ways that we can make our current products better. So not only does this have a Tbn booster in it, but it also has FR3.
Yeah.
Our favorite magic sauce here, which we think we're gonna have that one coming up soon. We haven't talked about FR3 yet.
No.
So we'll do a whole Friday talking FR3 one day. But that's our friction reducer. We'll dive into that another time. And then also it's got a really strong CK4 package.
Yeah. About a third of the product is a CK4 additive package to rejuvenate the oil.
Can you tell what the CK4 package, what that means?
Yeah, the CK4 is the latest additive package that's out. The previous one was the CJ4, and as additive technologies progress, the performance of them continues to increase. So the CK4, we found a really stout CK4 additive that we've put in our engine oil, and a small dosage of it, or a dosage of it, is put in the TBN to kind of like a 3-point rejuvenating of your engine oil to bring it back to new condition.
Really revitalize that oil.
Yeah.
So not only is it used to go ahead with these guys on the extended intervals, keeping it up to spec, but it's a great product to keep in the truck when, like Kevin said, you may be, you're late on a load, you're stuck somewhere. We know how much these oil changes cost and how much downtime it takes, and you'd rather just make it home because you got a few days off and get it done while you're there. you can throw a bottle of Tbn Booster in with all the added extras that we have in it with the CK4 package and the FR3, and that way you're not running the tail end and some dirty oil in the truck, but you actually revitalized it to get you home, and it's a cheap investment to keep in the truck in case you ever put in that situation.
Exactly, and we do have some semi drivers that have reported back to us their data, and they run well over 100,000 miles on Blue Diamond with the program that we're talking about. It does take maintenance. You do have to do the oil analysis. You do have to add TBN back into it, make sure that all the acid components are being treated, and your oil's at a 6 or 7 TBN.
And some may think that's a lot of stuff to deal with, but the guys that are running the system and these long haulers that are getting hundreds of thousands of miles out of an oil interval, it pays off. It pays off the amount of oil that these big trucks take and the cost it takes to make those oil changes. Once they kind of get involved in this world of bypass filtration and high-end PAO oil, it pays for itself very quickly.
Yeah, and some people think it's fun, actually.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, especially when you get your reports back, it's almost like getting your report card from school. You kind of see where the health of your motor's at and everything. Yeah. So if you have any questions about Frantz filter, I know it's a little bit of a complicated subject, but feel free to post them below. Is there anything else you want to do to mention about Frantz filter before we kind of wrap up and move on to some other stuff?
I just want to talk about the oil analysis just in a little bit of detail. Let me pull the one out here of where we started at. So the 6 liter that I was talking about earlier, when you do an oil analysis, you have the oil checked at 2 microns, 5 microns, 10 microns, 15, and 25. And when they do oil analysis, they're only checking a milliliter of oil. So a milliliter is it's literally the diameter of this test tube, about that big. It's just like a little squirt of oil. So when we did our testing at the 2 micron range, there was 41,000 particles in that little squirt of oil. Wow. And after 200 miles of running the Frantz filter, the next oil analysis came back, and it went from 41,000 particles down to 1,800 particles. Wow. Which actually ended up being cleaner than new oil. It's very close. To be completely fair.
Miles.
Yeah. To be completely fair, it really was the same cleanliness as new oil, but it's a dramatic difference. So at the 5 micron range, which is where a lot of wear metals are at, it went from 15,000 particles down to 673 particles.
Wow.
So you can imagine just at those two, at the 2 micron and the 5 micron, what a drastic difference just that little bit of filtering does to take those out of your oil. So
and after like you said, after 200 miles, imagine starting with a clean oil dose and running this bypass filter. Again, the thing that always gets me is that's what your motor is seeing constantly. So instead of 15,000 particles in that little tiny drip, I mean, we got it down to 600, and for your whole interval of your oil change for your motor to be seeing that clean of oil is just tremendous for the health of the motor.
Yeah, and again, whenever you consider the small tolerances in most of the parts, especially in newer diesels where it's just a few microns tolerance, having soot particles in there, increases the wear significantly.
Sure.
So that's the only thing I wanted to mention.
Okay. All right. Well, feel free to post any questions if you have anything on bypass filtration, PAO oils, Tvn boosters, oil analysis kits. We'll try. I know I'm looking at a little bit here. I know it's hard to see our samples, so maybe we'll get some pictures right here afterwards and post them up underneath so you can see a closer idea. And remember, that wasn't 200 miles. That was one pass through the filter. So it's really impressive what it can do just on the first pass. So let us know if you have any questions. We'll follow up with you on that. What else is going on in our world, Kevin? I think we
can talk about some of the events we have coming up.
Okay. Let's see. So Chris is out at that Vegas mining convention last week. This weekend is ODSS Outlaw Diesel Super Series going down right now.
Yeah.
I think gates opened just an hour ago, so they're going to have some fun today. TJ's down there along with Ashley and
Mindy's
down there. So come and stop by the Hot Shot Secret booth down at Holt, Florida. It's at the Emerald Coast Dragway.
Yep.
I know we're right next to the Fire Punk booth because thanks to Fire Punk for getting my canopy down there. We had to hitch a ride on the Fire Punk train, so I appreciate that, guys. So stop by the booth. We're always giving out free bottles of our EDT, our everyday diesel treatment at the booth. So if you're down there in Florida, swing by, say hi to the gang. They're happy to answer questions too. Enjoy some of the ODS drag racing. It's a blast down there, and I think this is the last one before we're down to the finals.
Yeah, before Rudy's.
Yep. So that's going down, and also right now we have the Shakedown at Summit going, which is not too far up the road from us. We're the streaming sponsor of that on Speed Video. So if you go over to speedvideo.com right now, you can catch some of that action out there. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret. We're happy to sponsor that. What else we got?
North Ohio Truck Meet, Summit Racing.
Oh yeah, that's on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're happy to be partnered with Summit Racing. You can find all of our products on summitracing.com on their website. And this Sunday, the North Ohio Truck Meets are going to be out there. So if you got a truck, there's a bunch of great guys. They always have a good time. I think this is their fourth and final big event of the year. So should be a big turnout. Summit Equipment is hosting it right there in Tallmadge. I believe our Diesel Don's heading out there with the Hot Shots canopy. So we'll be giving away some free EDT out there and showing off some of the products and answering questions and supporting the North Ohio Truck Meet. So that's Sunday at Summit Racing. So looking forward to that as well. Let's see, next weekend we got Cash Days at Pacemaker's Dragway, another local. Yep, this is I think we mentioned last week we really pushing our Support Your Local Track initiative this year because of it's tough to keep a track in business nowadays. So we want to encourage everybody to support their local track, and our local track here in Ohio is Pacemaker's Dragway Park, not but 15-20 minutes away from us here. And so we're sponsoring the Cash Days events all year. We had 3 early in the spring. We're about to hit the 3 here in the fall, and the first one will be next weekend, next Saturday. So anybody local here in Ohio, I encourage you to come out. It's a blast. The Cash Days events are huge there. And what's also really cool is they're very family friendly. We have big wheel races, Hot Shot Secret sponsored big wheel races for the little kids, and we got the Power Wheel races. Yeah. And if you guys have not seen these Power Wheel races, I mean, now there's a stock class and there's a modified class, and I don't know what to do with the rules because I saw some of the stock Power Wheels literally pulling their wheels for a good 10 feet. And so to watch these little kids run them right down there on the drag strip, it's a blast. Kids have fun, families have fun, all the kids get nice little prizes and everything. So we're happy to support them. So Cash Days is back starting next Saturday, and it'll be every other Saturday for the next 5 weeks there. So we're looking forward to that.
And then at the end of the month, we have the Wagler UCC qualifier.
Yeah, yep. So another UCC qualifier out in Indiana. At Wagler's track, so we're looking forward to that. I think we'll be out there supporting that, and we're happy to always sponsor them and be involved with UCC. So last week I kind of mentioned how we have our not only do we have our web sales with hotshotsecret.com, you can buy all our products there. We have a huge retail outings now from 20,000 stores nationwide, from all your truck stops to Tractor Supply, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Walmart, you name it. You can pretty much find our products almost everywhere now, which we're really happy about. The more stores are picking them up. We also have our direct independent dealers as well. So we mentioned some of the independent dealers that have recently come on board last week. And one of the other unique things that we work through our independent dealer side is we work a lot with fleets. Obviously, there's a lot of advantage to using some of our additives, especially in fleet applications when you're talking maintenance cost, keeping the trucks on the road, downtime, overall cost, mileage cost, all that stuff. So we love to work with fleets. We do a lot of R&D with some fleets, and we have a lot of our fleets that are on board with us that, again, we're capable of selling in a 32-ounce bottle or a 330-gallon tote. So Size is not any issue on any type of order you want to make with us.
Yeah. And a lot of times for fleets, it's just a business decision. It just makes money sense for them. It
Sure.
saves them money on maintenance, or they see it in the fuel economy with the fuel additives.
Absolutely. And if you've got a fleet out there, if you're a fleet manager, or if you have any questions like that, feel free to call us. We have excellent account executives that can kind of walk you through how we can help you out. We're happy to do some testing with your fleet.
Yeah,
If you want to see maybe, how introducing EDT to your lineup will help save on fuel economy, and if it actually pays off, because we get it. If it's not going to save you money, it's not worth it. So that's why we like to partner with you, test your fleet, see and show you how the money you can save, and then and we'd like to see everybody benefit from it.
A lot of times that's how we get started with the fleet. We'll do a small test. They'll see the payback, and then we go from there.
Sure. So we wanted to give a shout out. I just asked the guys a couple minutes ago, a couple of our latest fleets that came on board. Barrel Enterprises, they're in Cochranville, Pennsylvania. Palmer Gas is in North Salem, New Hampshire. Beaver Excavating Company is in Canton, Ohio. Web Transport is in Centerburg, Ohio. A couple of Ohio guys there. Eastern Slopes Equipment Incorporated is in Nova Scotia. We got the Fremont County School District, number 25, Riverton, Wyoming. We do a lot of schools, a lot of buses, a lot of bus fleets too. So, SoCal Sign Construction in Whittier, California. I'm gonna mess it up now. Verkendieren Farms in Ghent, Minnesota. I hope I got that right. But just as an example, a few of the fleets that came on board recently. So if you got a fleet out there, if you got questions, we love to tackle problems and challenges. So bring them to us. We'll see if we can help you out, and we'll get you in touch with some knowledgeable people to see what we can do for you.
We're down to the World Finals.
Yeah. We announced last week was our World Finals giveaway announcement. The winners were Steve and Faye Schwanger. We just got a hold of them finally. Super excited people. When you do a big giveaway like this, it's really rewarding for us when we see it's somebody who wins it who is just ecstatic about it. And I think Eric had talked to Steve the last couple of days, and he's super pumped. He's got a really cool semi drag truck he's building, so he's diehard into the sport and everything. And so I believe we're gonna get him a couple flights down to Texas for the World Finals of the NHRDA. Put him up in a hotel, rental car. They get a box. And I heard Eric told me today when he talked to him, because part of the package is they get the luxury box suites up in the tower. And I guess he said, well, that's great and all, but I think I can get down to the action too. So Steve, if you're watching, I'll be down there. I will get you in front of the action. I'll take you through the pits. I'll introduce you to all the drivers. We can check out all the trucks. I'll get you down there on the starting line, and you can be right on top of the action as well. I will say, though, you're going to love the box, because the way Texas Motorplex is set up, that Texas sun is cooking, and it's very comfortable up in the box. So I'm sure you'll split your time from that, and we'll have some good time down in the pits as well. So congrats to you guys. We look forward to seeing you down in Texas. And what else we get on? Web Special. So I mentioned earlier, this has been the National Truck Drivers Appreciation Week. So we got the Big Rig Duo going on right now. You can find that online at www.hotshotsecret.com. And also, we are about to launch. Is that bundle up now? It's a go. Yeah. Levi's the man behind the camera. So we are just launched a new web special for a winter stock up bundle. It is our traditional pickup prevention pack, a quarter of Stiction Eliminator, and a 16 ounce of Diesel Extreme. But we're also going to add 5 bottles of our 16 ounce Diesel Winter Anti-Gel. So it's a $114 value. So it's going to be $99 free shipping right now. You can find that online. And people may be saying right now, why are they talking about Diesel Winter Anti-Gel right now? I mean, yeah, it's the tail end. Summer just finished up, but then we have fall. But one thing that people often miss is we always see people starting to treat their system too late for the winter. Mm-hmm. They think, I'll wait till it freezes till I start putting some anti-gel in my diesel fuel. But really, we want to educate people. They need to get in there earlier so it can start working through lines, through your fuel filter. Don't get caught on the first freeze of the year. Let's start letting that work in. So now's a great time as we're getting into the fall to go ahead and stock up on a great bundle deal. So you're set for the winter.
Yeah. Besides the wax anti-settling agents that we have in the DWAG, we also have a ton of cetane. About half the product cetane. So even when it's starting to get a little cold out, it helps the truck light up a lot faster.
Sure. And it's like I always say, it's our everyday diesel treatment. All the great benefits you get out of that. But this time of year, it's a good time to switch over. You're still going to get a cetane boost out of our diesel winter anti-gel. So, and maybe we should hint. We got Apex SEMA coming up, and we got a very similar product coming out for that.
Yeah, we have some new products we're gonna introduce at SEMA. One's a 911 product. So if you are froze up, you haven't used a DWAG product, you find you're down on the road, it's good to keep a 16 of that around to get you thawed out.
Good to keep it in there. It's going to be our diesel winter our rescue product.
Yeah. So
for those of you that didn't heed our warning and waited too long to start putting anti-gel in your fuel, we'll get you back on the road if you're stuck there with one of our new products coming out. So you'll hear a bit more about that coming up soon.
Yep.
So with that being said, if I'm good to go, it's Friday.
Okay.
I'm ready for a weekend. You?
I am. You'll give some product away first?
Sure. We'll launch that. We'll post up afterwards and pick some winners on that. Feel free to ask your questions and we'll follow up on that. And I think next weekend, maybe we can see if we can get Chris back here.
I think he'll be around.
I think he'll be around as long as we don't let him scoot out. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching and have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yep.